So I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Duley, Music for Galway's Associate Artistic Director for 2020, to talk to us about the second in our ABENDMUSIK series, which will take place on Saturday, November the 22nd in St. Nicholas Church in Galway, on the feast day of one of our favourite saints, and that is, of course, the patron saint of musicians, Saint Cecilia. So, Mark, you might just tell us a little bit about the programme that you've planned for this concert.
Sure. Good morning, Finghin. Great to be with you. Yes, it's a great day to be celebrating St. Cecilia. I have a feeling she might have been struck off, actually. I don't know if she's still an official saint, but anyway,
Yeah.
we still very much celebrate her, and it's wonderful that it falls on this particular day. So we're starting the program with a Purcell ode written for celebrations on that day, because Purcell wrote quite a lot of music for that particular feast, including the work that we were originally going to be performing when we had access to more instruments that could have travelled to join us. But as we've got a smaller band, we've decided to choose this other ode, which is just using string instruments. So Welcome to All Pleasures sets the scene, and it's a wonderful piece which I think is the door into the rather incarnational sort of aspect of this particular programme. As we know, one of the great themes of Galway 2020 is landscape and also journey. So we've been making musical journeys in our programs, our music programs. But this one is very much about heaven and earth touching. There's a marvelous line in Fishburne's libretto that Purcell sets, a celebration of music as divinely inspired. I think, as he put it, as the product of the talents that have been lent us by the deities. Which is a wonderful line, I think. So we're celebrating the talents that have been lent us by the deities, whatever we might imagine those deities to be. So this thing about incarnation, if you like, about the heaven and earth touching, the divine, the landscape vibrating, as it were, to divinity present in our world, I think is perhaps the colour that runs through this programme and is very much present in the text that Purcell is setting.
And then another female saint is taken up in the middle piece, I seem to have gathered, in which Rhona Clark will set a text by Saint Hildegard of Bingen.
Hildegard of Bingen was an extraordinary woman, with attuned, I think, to the divine in a way that not many people are. And again, I think this text very much fits into this theme of incarnation, if you like. It's about the word dressed as flesh. So it's and about divinity being breathed into us, if you like. So yes, it's a wonderful text, and Rhona's setting very much picks up that aspect of it, I think.
And this is a world premiere, a Music for Galway 2020 commission, of course, of which we're very
proud. Yeah, we've commissioned a series of works for the ABENDMUSIK series. The idea was that in each programme we would have a new choral work, unaccompanied choral work, to form a collection that will be a legacy of the 2020 year. So this is one of those pieces.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
And then the program finishes with a setting of the Dixit Dominus by none other than George Frederick Handel.
Yes. And again, this is a new aspect to the programme, because we're just working now with strings rather than having wind on board as well. And this work fits us ideally there, as it's for strings, choir, and soloists. And it's a wonderful work. It's so exuberant. It's a young Handel in Italy, and responding to the words of this psalm, which again really fit in with our incarnational theme. It's one of the royal psalms about God as man and king, priest, and Messiah. It's sort of course, written hundreds of years before the arrival of Christ, but it's sort of looking forward to this God-man, if you like, God as man and man as God. So Handel responds with these wonderful, exuberant lines for the singer, some of them very virtuosic, but also moments of real still radiance as well. It's so responsive to the text, it's almost like a tiny little opera, just within this psalm setting. So that's our final work for the programme.
Beautiful. Well, it sounds like a gorgeous programme, and we have Rasagam and we have the Irish Baroque Orchestra, so two very fine bodies in the...
We do, yes. We have... they've worked together a lot, and it's great that they're working together again for this, and under the direction of Peter Whelan, the artistic director of the Irish Baroque Orchestra. So it's great to have Peter at the helm for this, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the singers of Resounding as well because all the solos are going to be taken by singers from the choir. So we're going to be celebrating the extraordinary talent we have within the choir.
Wonderful.
The talents again that the Purcell text speaks of. So everyone's going to get a little chance to step out and show what they can do.
That's wonderful. I think we enjoyed also the talents of rasagam at our first ABENDMUSIK concert, which was so evocative and to which so many people tuned in from around the world. We were delighted with our response, and we had great feedback from people who were able to see this concert because of the pandemic and because of being online. We're now able to reach across, of course, to people who are anywhere in the world and who were able to enjoy these concerts. And I think rasagam, sang beautifully and were their talents were very much on show. But I suspect they'll be even more on show at this next concert, in which we again.
Yes, there'll be a slightly larger group, so there are going to be 12 singers rather than 8. And of course, it's a very different sort of program, so it's much more baroque. So,
of course,
which will bring other things to the fore. But yeah, it's interesting what you say, Finghin, about the reach that we have people able to watch all over the world. I mean, we have a following now for our Music for Galway Soundscapes program in New Zealand.
Wonderful.
My nearest and dearest at home are following it and able to watch it, which is great. And they're as much part of it as people who are watching it here. So, and I don't know what you thought, but I found that experience of doing that first ABENDMUSIK very interesting, because we were all worried about how would we create the atmosphere. It could be such a damp squib with no audience in the building, but there was a palpable sense of atmosphere.
There was lots of atmosphere in the building. Yes, it's extraordinary. It's such a different thing to play to cameras, but actually it's not playing into a vacuum. You're playing very much into the people who are watching, particularly when it's live as opposed to pre-recorded, because you're very much aware that there are people watching this in a very intense and intent way all around the place, and it's very palpable. And what I found was that the church itself, which of course we're celebrating St. Nicholas's 700 years, the church itself was very much celebrated, almost more by dint of being empty of audience than if it had been full of people, in one sense, because we were the ones who were there sort of bringing it out into the world, and we were celebrating it beautifully lit, and we used different parts of the church, and I felt that it was that the church herself became a real character in this concert, and I suspect that they'll go on in the remaining ABENDMUSIK concerts.
Yes, it was very interesting, some of the feedback from people who know the church but were intrigued. A couple of friends of mine couldn't work out where you and Julia actually were. They were saying, so they were. I think that sort of intrigue as to how the building can be used, and the fact that we have the freedom to do that in this sort of format as well.
Yes.
In this concert coming up, we're going to be sort of athwart, as it were, in the nave, with the singers and the players spread right around the whole sort of central area of the building, which is you'd never be able to do in a normal concert. So we can, obviously we have to be distanced from the rest of it, so that's part of the reason, but also it gives us an opportunity to really be in the middle of the building rather than at one end or the other, which would be great for the performers, I think.
So we do hope that people will purchase tickets to watch this concert, which is on the 22nd of November, and tickets will be available from the Music for Galway website from Friday the 13th, so musicforgalway.ie, and people can purchase the link and then they can tune in on St. Cecilia's Day, the 22nd of November. Mark Duley, thank you. As ever, it's been a privilege to speak to you.
Great, Finghin. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.